Moving on now. Russia is bracing for a potential economic storm as global oil prices continue to plummet, posing a serious threat to its oil-dependent economy. On Monday, Urals crude nearly touched $50 per barrel, its lowest in 9 months, while global benchmarks like WTI and Brent crude also fell sharply. The steep decline follows Donald Trump's sweeping tariff order last week, which has shaken global markets. China, in response, slapped retaliatory tariffs on the US, further fueling uncertainty. Acknowledged person Dmitry Peskov, calling the situation extremely turbulent and emotionally charged. Oil and gas revenues, which make up the backbone of Russia's federal budget, already saw a 17% drop in March, and April's downturn shows no sign of slowing down. We are now joined by Dr. Ajay Jua, former Commerce Secretary, joining us from New Delhi. Thank you very much for joining us, Dr. Jua. How do you assess both China's handling of this and Donald Trump's handling of this? They both seem like equally stubborn parties, neither of which are giving in. China has obviously labelled the US's actions as bullying, unilateral bullying. Do you think these words are accurate? Dr. Jua?
I would say they are not inaccurate. Let me put it the other way. In lighter vein, that calling these as accurate, be the correct description, but they are also, there is a imposed retaliatory duties on imports from China, and we all know that China thrives on its exporting industry, and the exports to the United States are humongous, and the Chinese have a huge trade surplus vis-a-vis the United States. The US is well within its rights, I'm talking of the legal rights, the morality apart, to defend itself, the flow of imports into its country, and it has imposed this huge duty of 34% on the Chinese products coming into the United States, left a little bit of a margin on certain items, including pharmaceuticals. Chinese are not much of a pharmaceutical exporter to the US, but semiconductor-related issue, energy-related products, some of those things which it needs to import. The Chinese, not a small player, either in the terms of economic strength, number 2 in the world with $13 trillion GDP, vis-a-vis the United States, 23 or 24 trillion, and a huge trading country in its own rights. So to defend itself, it has imposed duties, reciprocating the retaliatory duties, and said that it will continue to defend itself, both well within their rights, certainly against the principles of WTO. Both of them vouch, not both of them, China vouches for it. The US is lukewarm towards WTO, we all know that. So the point I'm trying to drive home is that nothing illegal, trade has been defended for over decades, I would say over a century, by protective measures. Protective measures can be tariffs, non-tariff barriers, but we must remember that the dependence upon, as of now, on consumer goods and certain intermediates, the dependence of the United States upon China might be high. But there could be inflation in the United States, followed even by recession, as Mr. Powell, the chairman of Fed.
I want to come on to that next, Dr. Jua. Supposedly, these tariffs could lead some US companies bringing in certain goods from China facing a 104% tax after this. Analysts warn that this standoff increases the likelihood of an all-out trade war between the two world's two largest economies. We've obviously seen within a week of these tariffs some massive implications, including, as we saw yesterday, the Asian stocks plummeting. What further signs can we see? What further consequences can we see of this trade war across the world?
I think two consequences come to my mind. One, there would be a major alignment of trading around the world, and it's now going to be built around the rates of reciprocal tariffs or retaliatory tariffs which the United States has imposed on different countries in different slabs. India at 26 or 27% is going to be a beneficiary after an initial disruption in the medium term, which I put it as beyond 1 year. It might take a year or so for it to realign its own production lines and reorient the trade. But at the end of it, and if the United States and China persist on this bilateral war, so to say, then I've been absolutely clear in my mind for the last couple of weeks that a war is aimed at China much more than the other countries. Other countries, United States, may not give in right away, but negotiations over time with many of its so-called friends would start off, and China doesn't figure in that category. India is already negotiating a free trade agreement. Early harvest part of it might get signed within 3 to 4 months. The same thing would happen with Israel, same thing would happen with Korea, Japan, Taiwan, etc. There would be a degree of adjustment, and the beneficiaries in this would be those who go along with the US, do not challenge the authority of the United States, the world's largest economy, largest trading community in the US, biggest investor. All those things, those who respect are going to be treated far better than those who are going to take on the United States, and China falls in that category.
Dr. R.J. Jewett, thank you very much for joining us. We shift our focus now to US